Hello, I'm Dr. Dave Johnson from the Employee Assistance Program with Parkview Health. And today I have with me my colleague, Laura Oyer. She is a counseling psychologist with our Park Center, Parkview Health Institute, who works predominantly with eating disorders. And Dr. Laura, I have kind of focused in on mindfulness as a way to help people cope and adapt to stress. And one of the things that I've noticed during the pandemic, and especially with all the stressors of 2020, is that eating has been impacted. And I notice that even with my own eating patterns, that sometimes I focus on food. And so I was reading one of your blogs and I was intrigued by this whole notion of the red herring. If I focus on the food, I might be missing some other things. And so I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about what that means.
So the red herring, it's a metaphor. So a red herring is something that is either misleading or distracting. And so a lot of times, if people are struggling in their relationship with food and they're only focusing on the behavior with food, they might be missing a whole lot of things that are really going on that are really a problem. But again, just focusing on the food, right? It's kind of misleading, it's misdirecting. So other things people might focus on might be their weight or, right, how much, how little, or how much they're actually eating. And so a lot of times then they're not focusing on those insecurities, maybe the anxieties, the disconnection, the traumas that really are going on that might be facilitating the behavior with food. Really important to get checked to make sure there's not a medical cause. Some medications or some hormones might, impact someone's hunger, fullness, eating. But if all of that is pretty good, then you might need to look, below the surface to see really what's going on there.
I think about my own eating patterns and my own desire to be more mindful in terms of my eating. And of course, I use my coffee and my tea to savor, to slow down, to begin to be in touch. But you've referred to some things like intuitive eating, which is beyond mindful eating.
Mindful eating, I think about it as I'm just here in the present moment. My thoughts, my attention is here, right? Intuitive eating to me goes even deeper because I can become embodied. When I eat, it kind of guides me in all of that. And so I'm really trying to listen to my body and what my body's saying to me to really guide that.
How important is this notion of self-compassion? What does that look like?
Mhm. Yeah, so self-compassion, I think what happens often is when people use external sources to guide their eating, right? So this diet plan or looking at the scale and weight or counting calories, oftentimes we fail at those things. I put those in air quotes. There's a lot of failure. And so I think with intuitive eating and self-compassion, to me, they go hand in hand because I'm being really kind to my body in that process. I'm listening to what my body is needing or desiring. Sometimes, right, when I go out to eat, sometimes I really just want something that other people might say is unhealthy, but that just sounds really good. And I want to eat for enjoyment and I want to honor my body and specifically like my joyful eating, what tastes good. Other times I might say, I think I want something a little more quote unquote healthy or that has more nutrients in it. But if people are just wanting to try to, pursue a healthier life, I think having all foods fit is very compassionate to myself. I'm saying like I can eat what I want, but also being thoughtful with my body and also compassionate to myself in that process.
I've used a journal, and a lot of times I use journaling prompts with my patients and clients to help them to be more intentional. Could you say about anything about helping folks to use maybe writing or in setting intention to noticing? Yeah.
We encourage them, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And I think one other layer to that is what is your body saying, right? Really trying to listen to your body and asking it what it's saying. So sometimes a journaling prompt that I've encouraged people to use is if my body could talk, what would it say?
Mm.
And really trying to, sort of get inside your body, notice what it's saying. Is it feeling heavy? Is it wanting to move? Is it wanting to rest? Another prompt I like too is to dialogue back and forth between you and your body. So like hi body, how are you today? And like, I'm really tired, I just want to curl up on the couch today. Well, we can't quite do that, but what can we do instead? And kind of this
Mm,
nice dialogue back and forth. And so sometimes there's grief or sadness that comes up in that dialogue. But I think, again, just really trying to start to get reconnected to ourselves, because that really is where a lot of our hunger and satiety cues are.
that's good. I really like that dialogue and listening, cueing in on that listening. Before I begin to eat, is there some particular cues? I know some of us come out of a religious tradition where we pray or we center ourselves before we eat. Are there particular practices right before we eat that might be helpful?
I think the pause allows for you to set an intention. For me, I often eat just really fast because I'm multitasking when I eat sometimes, whether it's at work trying to get some things done, or whether it's at home with the kids trying to get, three different drinks, and someone forgot a fork, right? So it just is sort of a lot of chaos around food for me, I think a lot. So for me, just sort of a breath of like, okay, kind of setting an intention for my meal. Is it to eat slowly? Is it to savor my food? Is it to tune into my body? Sort of just that pause to kind of set an intention for the meal. Or to maybe have some gratitude or something along those lines, I think is a good first step. I think
Mm,
the next one that's really helpful then is to really tune into how hungry am I right now? And so we often in our program use like a 1 to 7 scale. So 1 being I'm extremely hungry, 7 being I'm extremely full, for that kind of 4 area being somewhere around neutral. And then really just trying to tune in, like, what number am I right now? And just kind of helping that kind of guide you through your meal. The other piece to it is during the meal, take a couple bites. This is again a practice a lot of people don't do, but take a couple bites and then ask yourself those questions again, because those can shift pretty quickly as we're eating. And so, couple bites, check in, right? Couple bites, check in. And so it's kind of this practice of really trying to listen to our body throughout the whole meal.
Any final words that you have for us today, Dr. Laura? I just really appreciate the wisdom that you've shared with us. Yeah,
Part of the work that I do in our program is really trying to get people back connected, back in tune to their body. And so that's I think my final word is just slow down and tune in and sort of listen rather than force or speak to it.
great advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the work that you're doing and continuing to bring a bit of peace and joy to the folks that you're serving. Thank you so much for being with me today. Have
Yeah,
a good,
thank you so much.
yeah.